did anything pop out for you guys like right away or any questions come up?
I like that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering why Zechariah didn't believe the angel.
We're gonna hit that. Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, I mean, like he's a priest. He's serving as high priest right now,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, he loves God. He knows God can do it, pretty much anything, right? I would hope he knows that.
Yeah.
He knows like the story of Abraham and Sarah and how old they were when Sarah finally conceived.
Yeah.
As like,
remake.
I mean, same situation, man. And it's like, man, you got an angel showing up telling you this. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
I don't.
What's with this dude? I think that's how Gabriel feels too. Yeah. What else?
I just like that he says, "I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God."
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
That's such a slam.
Yeah.
That's the biggest flex I've ever
He's like,
heard.
God, and you don't believe me.
Yeah.
Mute.
Yeah,
It's such a flex.
he doesn't answer Zechariah's question, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
how can I be sure of this?
He's like,
yeah.
well, his
that's what
answer is
that
like, dude, do you know who I am?
But he doesn't
Yeah.
play the game of like, well, yeah. He doesn't like.
Well, it's like it's his own thing to figure out how he can believe this thing. He's got 9 months to do that.
Yeah, that's striking to me too. That's the consequences. Not speaking.
Yeah, you guys are stealing too much of my thunder. So let's get into this. Okay, first of all, the thing I wanted to say is like I was super drawn. I just got back from sabbatical, and I was super drawn to this passage like right away because I was like, I've got to be silent for 3 months. You had to be silent for 9, like, and I'm trying to like resurface some hopes and stuff. So I was in this passage like praying it pretty much. I don't know about every day, but almost. And so I am preaching to myself tonight. Like this is me preaching to me. I'm glad you guys are all here to listen to me. And one thing that hit me right away was he's old. Why does it matter that he's old? Yeah. Why else does it matter?
Apparently, there's some disgrace.
Yeah.
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 Well, especially to be a priest too, and because back then it was culturally like seen as a blessing to have children, like a blessing from God, and we
Yeah.
didn't have that, and so I wonder if there's some stigma around that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's like a give up mentality.
Totally.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that touches on all of those things, but they're not necessarily looking for it.
Right. Yeah. I also wanted to focus on having a baby when you're super old isn't always the plan for everyone. You know, it can be rough. Like we've got over here, how's Seth gonna manage, man? We've got an old dad. We've got an old dad like coming. His back's gonna glow out every time he picks this thing up. He's and like Seth in particular, he's gonna be leaving this baby everywhere. He's gonna be leaving it at the liquor store. They're gonna be finding Seth's little baby everywhere, right? I had another joke. Yeah, the other joke's not very good. I was gonna make fun of how bald you are, but I'll just tell you what the joke was gonna be and then tell you why. No, it wasn't gonna work. It's not that funny. The kid was gonna be 3 and a girl, and the bald pattern comes in because his genes are so strong. Kind of good. Anyways, it could have been good. Maybe I should have tried it.
Zechariah.
Yeah. I had others I wanted to do, but I just skipped them. Let's keep going. But yeah. Where was I? Making fun of Seth. Yeah. One day I was praying with this passage, and like when I got to that part that said he was old, it was like God just like went like boom, this is what we're talking about right now. Because yeah, I turned 40 this year. I blew my ankle out so bad I couldn't walk for 3 months. I tore a disc in my back. I'm getting sciatica from laying in bed. I'm taking so many vitamins that I'm thinking about getting one of those Sunday through Monday organizers. Like, I am old. I'm an old man now, and I'm trying to admit that to myself. So over sabbatical, if you saw me peeking out, when I was coming around the corner or something, I was growing a big old beard because I wanted to look myself in the mirror and say, Caleb, you're becoming a sage, right? Like, I wanted to go from being young and hip and cool to like, oh, we're past that now, and we're like, we're gonna invest in things that really matter because it's the back half of life, and also just get okay with being old because we live in a culture that's not with that. My beard looked terrible. It looked like my face was blurry, like goat hairs. I don't know. It's gone. Don't worry. But it was good for me to be able to embrace that a little bit. And yeah, getting old sucks for many reasons. And the biggest one, it's not the plush garden of nose hairs that comes in. It isn't the cultural references you begin to feel lost in as everyone is enjoying their Riz and their drip. It's not the joint pain or the saggy skin. It's watching so much of your life go from potential to actual. Because when you're young, it's like you do anything. And you really could. Like, you have the energy, you have the time. And as you're getting older, all the things you thought you were going to do, you have more and more responsibilities, less time to do stuff, less energy to do it with. And you stop feeling like you can do as much stuff. And what's kind of funny is I Googled, like, who are some old people who did something significant, like senior citizens. So I was like, who are some senior citizens who do great things? I looked at the top 3 hits on Google. All 3 of them said Colonel Sanders. Apparently he's the only senior citizen who did something amazing. And I mean, like, props to the chicken and stuff. I mean, his goatee is goated. It's that image is pretty great. But like, that's it. Like, come on. Like, senior citizens, like, pull your weight, right? Yeah, it didn't work for my. I was like, oh, it doesn't work for the back half of the sermon. Let's put it in the front half about how being old sucks. So, anyways, yeah, getting old is hard, and what's really hard about it is, for me at least, I think for most of us, is the constriction of your possibilities, and the way to put it another way, the way that you stop dreaming. Things that you've wanted, you start thinking they're not going to happen, right? And also, yeah, we're told they're childless, and that's like dream number 1 for an ancient person, in a way that we can't get our heads around because we are very anti-natalist in liberal circles and Seattle in general. There's a lot of fear around, like, there's too many people on the planet, and it's basically immoral to have a kid now. There was like this Chapel Roan quote that came out that she got in trouble for, where she was like, all my friends who have babies are in actual hell. Which I think is the wrong way to feel about bringing a soul into the world, definitely. But for an ancient person, you can see it right in the passage. She says, like, I feel disgrace, and everyone knows it. What is the line? It's something about disgrace among all the people.
Disgrace among the people.
Among the people. So it's like, not only does she feel disgrace, it's an assumption within her culture that everyone is going to feel that way about the fact that they haven't had kids, right? Because this is a familial culture where your value and this is an identity level issue for this person, right? I really wish I had turned off that, but
Can't you just?
yeah, see if you can silence that. Put it on do not disturb. Identity level issue. So then the angel shows up, and this is your question. I love it. The angel shows up and says, "Here comes a baby," and so we have this description of this interaction. So try to get into Zechariah's brain for me. Why does he react the way that he does?
He's frightened, for one.
Yeah,
And that probably plays into it.
explain that.
There's an angel in front of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we know it's like here. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's even a good point, which is like he's gripped by fear, So he's not like, oh, this is just some dude with fake wings. Like, what's he doing back here where he shouldn't be in the temple? No, something's going on that he knows this is a surreal, supernatural experience. He's scared. He's got that going for him. We also know that he wants a baby, for sure. So he wants a baby. He's having a supernatural experience, and yet he goes from awe to doubt in about 30 seconds. How is he able to go from awe to doubt like that?
I wonder how long ago that prayer was said.
What do you mean?
Like when the angel says, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, your prayer has been heard." Like that might have, I don't know, I don't think it specifies, but like it may very well have been the prayer in their marriage for the first 5 years, and then
Or
a little
decade.
less so in the next 5 years, and then for the next decade they maybe prayed it once, and then the decade after that they didn't pray it at all. And so like your prayer has been heard, like, well, this is a prayer I prayed 40 years ago.
Right.
Maybe, you
For
know,
sure,
like,
for
like,
sure.
I think that might be an aspect of it, just like with the fact that they specified they were both very old,
Yeah.
right? Like in the culture, you get married and you have kids. Like there's not like you get married and then you establish your lives for the next 20 years and then you have kids. Like it's the
Yeah.
order of events is a little faster. And so
Yeah.
I wonder if for him, like, your prayer has been heard. And he's like, oh, you mean the prayer I prayed last week? Like, and I'm giving you
Yeah,
a kid.
for
That's
sure.
not this week's prayer. That's not something I've prayed for the last 10 years.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
hard too, cause he's given up on that.
Yeah.
I think he's
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, like accept it.
Maybe?
Also, the structure of his doubt is kind of a little more complicated than just that he didn't believe it. He wasn't just like doubting it, he wanted. The way he asked the question, it's like, so according to what am I gonna know?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
he's not saying there's no way, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm old, like,
It's please let me believe that this is true.
right. And the angel's response wasn't, no, I'm right, you're wrong, it was like, you need. When he said you don't believe, like, it was like, this is it, like, this is the sign.
Yeah.
Right here, so the fact that you wanted like a second one, that's the review.
For sure. But I love what he's pulling out there. There's, and I feel that in this passage too, is that he wants to believe this, but he's like, help me see how I can, like you said, well, okay, let me get it on paper. Like, wait, what? So I don't think that it's that he doesn't want to believe it. I think he's trying to. And what I want to pull out of that is like sometimes even when God says yes to our deepest longings, it can be hard to believe him. Because we've been conditioning our minds to low expectations, right? Because that's how we cope. I think that's how we allow ourselves to feel okay in a world that's disappointing us. But go ahead.
I think part of that is like you live a life, like especially as a priest, where every day you're trying to humble yourself and be an obedient servant to God. It's like, I think what can happen, especially in older age, is that like, especially if you don't see things happening that are affirming things for you, I think that could cause you to doubt your own self-worthiness. So then when something miraculous happens in your life, you're like, yeah, I believe in God. There's an angel and oh my gosh, like this is great, but like, why me?
Yeah.
Like, why me? Who am I? Like, I'm just an old priest guy. Like, what does this have to do with me?
Yeah.
And if it does, just like, can you explain it to me? This is kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Also, maybe something else, like God hasn't spoken to Israel in like 400 years.
Yeah.
Like the book of Malachi was the last book of the Old Testament, and God was silent
Yeah.
after that. So maybe he's like, wait, what?
yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And yeah, when you wanted something really long, you start to turn off that part of your heart that thinks that thing could still happen. And the natural progression of life, if it isn't upended by God, is to habituate yourself to low expectations.
Yeah.
That's the natural way for it to go. And when you do that, you can actually have an angel in front of you telling you that the thing that you want most will happen, but you can still doubt him. And like Frederick Buechner has this awesome thought experiment where he's like, imagine what if God wrote, I exist in the sky. He's like, well, okay, the first like week, there'd be like news articles everywhere, and everyone would go out at night and they'd be like, whoa, he really does exist. And like atheism would disappear and everyone would start to believe in God and the church would fill up and stuff like that. But he's like, at some point, maybe it's a month in, maybe it's a year in, or whatever. At some point, someone's gonna look up at the sky and say, "So what?" Like, so what? Because belief it has deeper roots into your heart. Like, belief isn't something that you can just have an experience. This guy just had an angel right in front of him, but there's still these modes of coping that are in his life that he's used to, so he doesn't immediately believe what the angel's saying because he's got these patterns of thinking that need to get worked through. I think that's a big part of why Jesus's modus operandi wasn't primarily like lots and lots of big shows of power. He was primarily sitting with people and talking about their hearts, discipleship, long-term relationships with people, and then eventually, of course, like substitution, because there's evil in our minds that we're not going to be able to handle ourselves, and we need God to bridge that gap for us, right? But yeah, what I wanted to pull out of there is belief has deep roots into the heart, and Zechariah is just not able to believe that God can work there, because he hasn't been able to work on those deep roots yet. And then another thing I wanted to pull out was what Garrison was kind of riffing on, that this is like the most baller statement that anyone's ever said. I stand in the presence of God. Like, who are you to judge me? Kind of like to wonder about what I'm saying. I saw Satan fall like thunder. I tell 1,000 angels what to do. Like, what are you doing? And I just want us to think for a little bit about how telling God what can or cannot happen is prime, basic, human level ignorance. And I am a prime, basic, human level ignorant person, and I do it all the time. Go ahead.
Because I think the other thing that's jumping out at me that goes with this is like, this isn't a standalone thing. Like, it's not just like, oh, okay, what a nice, powerful, wild statement that like we who should not be able to have kids are going to have a child. Like, that affects their entire life, that affects their entire family's life, that affects their community's life, that affects like, and oh, by the way, the angel Gabriel standing in front of you, like that like shakes all of these different things. And it's almost like when you're confronted with that type of power, whatever you want to call it, power encounter, miracle, vision, all of that together, like I feel like it rocks so much of your world that you're just like, okay, am I tripping? Am I having a psychological break? Like, how can I know this is real? Because if this is real, it changes literally everything. Like, it changes what I've been doing day to day. It changes how I view the world. It changes what I can believe. So like because it's so big, like it affects too many things. And so I think it makes it actually easier in one human way of us to shut it out, just like you're saying, like we can shut it out because it affects too much. There's too much that's then possible.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about a little time that I was pretty ignorant, telling God what couldn't happen. I've talked about this a little bit before, but there was a church downtown that I was applying to be a pastor at, right by the Space Needle, and I was like, I told Foursquare, hey, if you think you're gonna fill this thing up with 200 people in a couple of years, good luck. Doesn't happen in Seattle. That's not how Seattle works. Hasn't happened in the last 10 years. So maybe you guys will win the lottery, but probably not. And I was just like, we just got to get in there, use it for some community service kind of stuff, and I had a very humble vision for what we were going to do there. And I did not get that job. And I felt very, oh, well, this guy, whoever they did hire, they're going to fall apart. We'll see. And here we are 2 years later. And there's maybe like, I said you can't fill it up with 200. I think there's maybe like 1,000 Gen Zs Well, but I think they're growing. Who knows? 600. It's a lot more than my little number. As like a dream that Foursquare would never reach. Lots of young people, lots of baptisms. God's doing something awesome. I'm very glad that God got my negativity out of the way, and I am like very interested in like God. What's gonna happen when you get more of my negativity out of the way, like in my life, in your life, and everybody like, what's like, whoa, so God can do things in Seattle. That's kind of well, that's interesting, right? And yeah, I hope he keeps clearing that out. And but why did I do that? Why did I form the opinion that God doesn't work in this city? Because I was dealing with I was coping with a lot of disappointments. I didn't want to make it about me. I wanted to make it about the city. I wanted to deal with the way that it's been hard to try to start a house church network in the city for years, 10 years. And so what did I do? I switched that into making generalizations about God and what he's able to do.
Can I say something about that?
Go ahead.
I would also say, you know, I have conversations about this all the time, so it's nothing new, but I just, it's really important to just say, I'm not gonna steal your thunder. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna address the thing that people always bring up when I say this. I will address it in a second. Just trust me.
I will,
Go ahead, you
I'll
can say it.
I'll editorialize if I don't feel like you hit the mark.
Okay, okay. But it's basically, I should be like proud of what we're doing here, right?
Well, I think it's more than that. I really do. I think it's like, there are lots of ways in which God makes things possible in Seattle. And like, there's lots of ways to do church. And,
For sure.
And I'm never going to that church.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Getting there.
Yeah.
And I know that's how people always feel when I talk about this, and that's why I thought about it a little bit this week. Getting there. But but here's what I want to say is, what do you need when you're coping, when you're disbelieving, when you're struggling to believe in something hopeful? Like, what do you need? All right. The angel says, now you will be unable to talk. Why is that the angel's fix?
Why is what?
Why is that the fix? Why does the angel fix this situation with, and no more talking? Mute button for you.
Well, to me, silence doesn't actually always equate to punishment. Sometimes silence is opportunity for reverence, and you get to sit in the stillness and listen instead of assume, or like you said, tell God what his plan is going to be. So it's like you got the opportunity to sit in the stillness and have the reverence for what was taking place. And he may not have been able to do that. So it was actually, it wasn't a mistake, actually. I don't think it was like, oh, you screwed up, so I'm gonna punish you and now you can't talk. No, it's like, to me, I think it was gonna happen regardless. And it's actually a beautiful unfolding for him.
Yeah, he used to sit there with this promise for 9 months and think about, like, well, the last thing that the angel said is all this cool stuff that's gonna happen with his son. That's the last thing. He's got a lot of time to meditate on that, right? And yeah, when you're doubting hopeful ideas, you need to stop talking and start ruminating. Okay, go ahead.
One thing, I think God likes to take us to seasons of like wilderness.
Yeah.
Like Moses, when he
For
has
sure.
something big to show us. At least I've seen this in my life too. It's like, all right, well, something big is coming. I have a lot of promises for you, but I have to put you in like this little period where you don't have a lot of support. You just have to lean on me.
Yeah.
And to kind of grow your roots deep so that you can do the miracle or whatever he has in store for you. With him, he can't get to that point because he's a priest, so he's always talking all the time to give wisdom, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna shut you down.
Yeah.
You have to dig deep and.
I know I couldn't have gotten to some of my own cynicism if I hadn't had time to go think about it.
Well, and I think the piece of him being a priest is a super interesting, like a silent priest too. Like, it's not just like, it's not a random guy who's silent for this length of time. Like, it is very specifically a priest who is currently acting as the high priest.
Oh, that is
like,
cool, yeah.
This is a leader. And he's like, you, leader person who's in charge of pointing my people to me,
Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
talking.
It's
Like,
like, there's a part of that that's probably like, this system needs a little.
But that's really
Yeah.
powerful, like to lead from the place, like it doesn't say, he's not stepping down, right? Like it doesn't mean that he's
Yeah.
no longer doing his role either. Like, I think that's really powerful that he is continuing as, presumably, continuing in his role as a priest, continuing in the role of his family, all of these things, and he's silent.
And think about what it's like for him. That like every time somebody's like, "Hey, Zechariah, well, like, what do you think about this hummus?" He has to be like he has to try to mime like, "I got punished for talking smack to an angel," right? Like every time. No, I got stuff to say. Let me talk a little bit. Every time that he tries to talk to his wife, where is something, right? Like, he can't do it, and he has to ask himself, well, Zechariah, why can't you talk right now? Because you said a bunch of ignorant stuff about how God can't give you a baby, right? And he's like, so he has some time to ruminate. He has some time to think. And I think here's the wisdom of God in it, is that if you're hopeless, you need to get yourself some time alone with God. If you think God can't fix marriage, or if you think like God can't bring back a hope for something that you know that is part of who you're supposed to be, if I don't know what your hopes are. I know you have hopes. I know you've been made with God to have hopes. And if you're losing those, you need to get around God. You need to pull back from responsibilities a bit. You need to spend some time not talking out of your ignorance about how things won't happen, but pulling closer to God's heart about the fact that he does want to satisfy all of the deepest inner longings of your heart. That's who God is and what he's going to give you. Right? When you catch yourself doubting, one of God's promises is time to stop talking and start ruminating on the promises of God. You can aim in that. You can aim in that. In a second, we're gonna do some reflection. Then we're gonna do one more song. We're actually gonna have some silence so that you can think about these questions that are at the bottom. Oh no, I didn't put them on there. Okay, wait. Write these questions down. I'll try to make them as simple as possible. What dreams have you let go of that God might want to resurface? What dreams have you let go of that God might want to surface? That's number one. Number two, what coping mechanisms have you used to manage your disappointments? So the second one is coping mechanisms for disappointments. And then, do you need to stop talking and start ruminating on God's promises to regain a hopeful perspective? You just read that. Do I need to stop talking and start ruminating? So first one is, what dreams have you let go of? The second one's about coping mechanisms. And the third one is, do I need to stop talking and start ruminating on God's promises? I have one more final little thought before we get there. Coming back from sabbatical, I want to name and repent some of the unhealth that has been in me, especially over the past couple of years. Yeah, basically I've been pretty cynical about what God can do. I think it started especially during COVID. It was a dark time and I was burned out and I just kept going. And yeah, so there's been this thing that I've wanted, which is to scale a house church network, and that hasn't happened. Fine, right? But I think the problem where it became really problematic is that I let the enemy turn that into an identity level attack on me. Like, I'm not worth much because look at I must suck. And then because of that, I generalized that to say God doesn't do stuff in this city. And here's the one that Seth wants me to point out, and you all want me to point out every time I talk about this, is that I've been I've emotionally ignored a lot of the good stuff that God is doing because it doesn't reaffirm the lie of the enemy that I'm not worth much because the church isn't growing faster, right? So yeah, I see that. There's the ones people are like nodding their heads like, that's the one we want you to see, Caleb. And I've been ruminating on it a lot. I've been praying about it a lot and asking God, like, what is the thing you want me to hope for? I still don't know. Like, I don't have like, and the vision is this. Like, I don't know what exactly that's supposed to look like. What does it look like for me to believe that God can do stuff? I don't know yet. I know that God's healing some of that like identity level stuff. Because, for example, I went to Banner Church during sabbatical. I expected to feel really inadequate when I saw this guy who got the job that I wanted, like leading this huge church, and I thought I was going to feel like a loser. And I walked in, I was weeping with joy to see all these people getting baptized, and I felt just nothing but joy and very proud of myself for feeling that way, like in a good way, like. This is what I've been praying for, God. It's happening. Yay. And yeah, people always want to come back at me with like, Caleb, what we have here is really good. And that's true. We are a real community. People are known and loved here in a way that's special for a church that's not going to happen at most churches. We're vulnerable. You don't really get that at most churches, to be honest. People are growing here in ways that they can't when they're just sitting in a pew. You come here, you talk to people, you get known, right? I see that. That's really beautiful. And all that good stuff has happened even while me as a leader have been listening to the lies of the enemy about how I suck, right? And so how good could things get if I get my heart in a place where I can be hopeful that God can actually move in the city, right? Like that could be really good. Right? And also I want to say that my disenchantment stage of like feeling like I suck, I'm kind of not sad that I went through it. I think it's just part of what you got to go through. And it's not that I want to go back and be a 20-year-old and have all the same dreams and visions that I had then. There's something really special about an old person who's seen a hope die and seen it resurrected again. There's something beautiful about what's going on with Zechariah because there's something special in his heart that he doesn't get if he hasn't had to go through years of not seeing it happen, right? So yeah, I don't want to go back, but I want to. Yeah, I want to believe. I want to believe that God's gonna do stuff again.
That's good.
Yeah, there's something really special about an old person who can still believe in hope. And let's become people like that. And when I was trying about Zechariah being old, there was some grief of like, yeah, I'm old, and that kind of stuff sucks. But most of all, it was joy about like, wow, you can be an old person that sees dreams come back. Let's be that. I hope that'll be in the air here. I hope we'll feel like a little bit of a culture change. Because I think it's healthy for me. I think it's healthy for us. That we look at things and we're like, oh, God can heal this. God can move here. God, we can see new people become Christians. That's really important to me. And there's a lot of things that we need to believe that Jesus said that will happen. The main one that we're going to focus on a lot through this next season is the renewal of all things, because that's like the main one. That's the main hope. But there's this little subcategory of it that I think decimates the disbelief that I have in God working in Seattle, that I need to just say what Jesus said because it's the opposite of what I was thinking, right? He said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. And so if Jesus is right, what he's saying is he has all the authority. He's chosen to be with us so that we can make disciples. So that's going to happen. That's going to happen. So let's pray.